Hello, welcome. This is episode 67 of Fiber by Design. I'm your host, Lydia. You can find me as Lydia B on Ravelry and as Lydia Knits on Instagram and Periscope. You can also find my indie yarn company as Ohloops on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, in the Ohloops Ravelry group. And I believe that's it. If you're not already a member of the Ohloops Ravelry group, please go on and pop on over there and participate or join the group. It's where I keep all of my show notes and links for any patterns or yarn that I talk about on these episodes, as well as where I host all of my knit-alongs. So, okay, let's jump right in. As always, I record from Spokane, Washington, where I live with my husband and our 3 kids and our fur babies. And it is snowing like crazy outside. It snowed last night. I think it started the night before, actually. Maybe not. Maybe it just started yesterday. I don't remember. But this is kind of our second big snow of the year. And I believe as of right now, I think we have 8, almost 9 inches of snow. So it's very pretty. I keep looking this way because the window is right there. So it's snowing currently. Usually I don't do a whole lot of personal stuff on the podcast, but this podcast was supposed to be up a long time ago and it wasn't. So I kind of just wanted to chat really quick. I recorded originally in December, right before New Year's, and was, talked about what we did for Christmas and was going to get this up for you guys in 2016. But then we had some editing and uploading issues, so I was just going to record again. And, rather than trying to fight with it, just make a new video. Well, our first week of 2017 was a little chaotic. It actually all started on New Year's Eve. We went sledding with some friends. And we had been there for about 45 minutes. Everything was going fine. It was kind of a big hill, which I'm not always a huge fan of. I have little kids, so, not little, but little. And it always makes me nervous when there's a ton of people. And there were probably 30, 40 sledders, and, they're all coming down. And it was pretty slick by that point. And we'd been doing okay. Everything was going fine. My niece had kind of run into some hay bales at the bottom of the hill a couple times because they have a bunch of trees and stuff, and so they put hay bales around all the trees to keep the kids safe, which I thought was really great. And so she had kind of done that a couple times, and so we were just watching the kids a little bit more. Well, my oldest, Emma, she hiked herself back up to the top of the hill, was coming down, hit this pretty big bump, and it kind of threw her through the air. And so we're like, oh wow, that was quite a hit. Like, she's gonna hurt when she comes up, just thinking that, she hit the ground hard. Well, she seemed like she was kind of losing speed, but she kept going for quite a ways. And so I'm just kind of watching, making sure she's okay. And at the bottom of the hill, there was a park bench. And she kind of just kept going. I figured she would bail, but she just wasn't for some reason. And so she did hit the bench. And I could tell she hit the bench pretty hard. So I was like, okay, that's definitely going to leave a bruise. She's going to be sore. She might, be a little upset. So I start making my way down that way. Well, she turns around and sits up, and it's just sheer terror on her face, and she's crying. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I drop everything and I start running towards her. Well, by the time I get there, she's really upset. And so I'm not really looking for anything. I'm just kind of trying to calm her down. And all of a sudden, I just see blood everywhere. I'm like, oh my gosh, did she cut her head? So I'm looking through her hair. I can't see anything. I finally see that it's coming from her ear. And so I'm trying to move her hair. And the moment I move her hair, I was just like, oh my gosh. And I stood up. I had a cup of hot coffee or a chocolate in my hand. I dropped that. I turned to my husband. My sister-in-law at that point was coming down the hill, and I'm waving at her. I'm trying to get my husband's attention. I'm yelling at him. I'm like, we have to go right now. So fortunately, one of our friends, he drives a medical truck, so he delivers medical supplies, and he always has a first aid kit with him. So he came down and he walked us over to the car and got her all cleaned off. In the process of cleaning her off, we kind of realized that we were definitely going to need to go to urgent care. So we were supposed to go to my sister-in-law's house that night and, play games and do all the fun New Year's Eve stuff, which is always our tradition. And so we're like, okay, well, I guess we're going to go. And so the guys took all the kids back to the house, and my sister-in-law and I went to the ER with my niece and my daughter. Or not the ER, the urgent care, excuse me. And we get there and cleaning her off. So what happened when she came down the hill and hit the bench, there were 2 large bolts on the back of the bench that, hold the wood part of the bench to the metal. Well, somehow, when she hit the bench, one of the bolts, and they're pretty big bolts, went through the upper part of her ear, up here, clear through, and kind of punctured the back of her head. So, right here, and all the way through. It was still bleeding pretty bad at that point, so we couldn't really tell how much damage had been done. And so, they get her all cleaned off. She's still pretty upset. They take her back, and the nurse is like, we'll just have to see what they're going to do. So the doctor comes in, and he's cleaning her off, and he looks at it, and he's like, I'm probably just going to be able to do some stitches on the top side of her ear and some stitches on the back. The puncture on the side of her head doesn't look bad, so we're just going to clean that off and don't need to do anything about that. He goes, and once we get it all clean, and once I get some numbing stuff in it, I'll be able to get in there and really see whether or not I have to put one all the way through the ear, because that is part of the ear that has all the cartilage, so he didn't know that yet. So I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. A couple stitches on the front, a couple stitches on the back. She was really upset. She's like, I don't want stitches. Why can't they just put glue? So by the time they actually got her all cleaned up and numb, he realized that the damage was way worse than he thought, and that she had for sure done extensive damage to the cartilage. Probably TMI, and I'm sorry so much so that he actually was able to kind of put his pinky all the way through the ear. And so he realized that, he was going to have to do full cartilage stitches so that he could kind of reconstruct the ear and keep it from scarring too bad. It is definitely going to scar, but we are thankful she did just get her stitches out today, and it looks beautiful. He took his time and did an amazing job, and she will hopefully only have a small scar. The fortunate part is that it is right kind of up here in this area, and so the fold of her ear kind of covers a good portion of it. So, she was a little self-conscious about it. I'm like, it's your ear. It's not a big deal. You have long hair. You wear your hair down. When you're older, you can get it pierced and nobody will ever know. And it truly looks really good. He did an amazing job, and we were very blessed to have him. And she got through the whole thing like a champ. The hardest part was definitely being numbed up, because, that really hurt. And I was very fortunate to have my sister-in-law with me, because I was doing okay during the anesthetic part. By the time they got to doing the stitches part, she was really upset by that point, and I just kind of lost it. I couldn't handle it anymore. I started crying, and I didn't want to cry in front of her, so I went and sat down, and she came and held Emma's hand for me, so that was great. So anyway, so sorry to start this whole podcast off with sad news, and that was 9 minutes of sad news, but she really is doing good. But then after that, we ended up all kind of getting the stomach bug. I'm just now starting to feel human again, so that makes me really happy. The kids are still not feeling so great, but we're on the mend, so that's good. So, okay, now on to happier things. I have a lot to share with you guys today. I want to kind of recap my 2016 as far as knitting goes. show you all the stuff that I was able to finish for Christmas, and then start talking about all the fun stuff that's already planned and started for 2017. So, real quick before we do, I want to show you guys my mug. I've had this for a while, but this is my Hey You mug that I have, and in it is just my favorite English tea shop chocolate superberry burst tea. So I'm drinking that. I apologize, my kids are downstairs. You can probably hear them laughing. I'm not podcasting out in the garage today. I tried to kind of move my same setup into my office because it is very, very cold. So when I recorded the last episode at the end of December, I was out there and I was shivering. I had my electric blanket, but I was so cold that by the end of it, I was just like, I can't be out here. It's too cold. So hopefully soon it'll be insulated and heated and we'll have some more work on it done and I'll be able to record out there all year. But okay. Let's jump in with knitting stuff, shall we? Okay, so let's recap the 2016 At the Corner of Whip and Faux. Before I left last time, I hadn't finished the kids' socks. I had done Joel's and Noah's, and you guys, I finished them. The only socks I didn't get done were mine, and that's okay. I kind of knew ahead of time that that wasn't going to happen. So, At the Corner of Whip and Faux. Jillian's socks are done. So these are the Charade socks by Sandra Park. And I modified mine. Normally I believe they are just a 64 stitch pattern, which I've mentioned before, and I modified mine to do them toe up and 52 stitches. So what I did is I omitted one of the textured sections and just added additional stitches on either side of the first and last one. And then I added a cute little slip stitch heel to the back of it for her. And this is knit with the Jillian colorway, which you guys have seen lots, and then the Summer Breeze for the cuff. And she's worn them several times, so they're already stretched out and starting to get a little worn on the bottom. She really likes them. She's worn them several times. She actually wore them on Christmas Day. We went to my mother-in-law's house and went sledding and had a big Christmas dinner, and she wore them that day. And then when you guys saw me last, I hadn't even started Emma's. Well, I shouldn't say that. I had started them on my double pointed needles, cuff down, and determined that that was just not going to be fast enough. So I have hers done as well. I'm sorry that the lighting is so dark, guys. Maybe my husband can lighten it up when he edits. But I decided to do the Honey Badger sock pattern, which is by Irish Girly Knits, and I modified them again to be toe up and for 64 stitches. And hers are really, really stretched out, you guys, and already so fuzzy and dirty. I need to wash them. She's worn them numerous times, and they're really stretched out. Honey Badger pattern. And it striped up really fun. I thought that was kind of cool. And this is the Patronus charm. Semi-solid for the cuff. And I originally was going to make her socks long, but as I was running out of time and as I was really thinking about the socks that she always wears, she wears shorty socks anyways, so I was like, I don't know why I'm fighting it. I should just knit her shorties. She's going to wear them. And she has. She really loves them. So yeah. And it's funny. They did this funny little flashing. So on this side, it's blue and black. And then over here, it did the pink and the green. But it's like they're opposite. So this one has the black on the inside and then the pink and the green on the outside. And then this one has black on the outside and pink and green on the inside. And then on this side we have black on the inside and blue on the outside. And this one has the blue on the inside, black on the outside. So I thought that was kind of funny how I did that. But they love them. I've posted a picture on Instagram, so if you follow me there, you got to see it. And I'm going to have my husband insert the cute little picture that I took of all of them wearing their socks. I love that I was able to finish them. They really all enjoy them very much, and so that makes me very happy. Okay, here's a project I am so excited that is finished, and I can't wait to show you guys. I loved every single thing about this project. Advent socks! I love them so much. So when I talked last, I explained that what I was going to do was knit one mini skein a day for 15 days. And then this sock would be finished, and then I would continue on with the other one, and it would run through the end of the month. Well, when I got to 15, I decided they weren't long enough, and I wanted to add a couple more colors, so I kept going. And I believe there's 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yes. So 18 mini skeins. Only 17, though, are from Haverland Yarns. When I had done my math, I decided to do 8 rows per mini, which was perfect because it left me exactly enough to do both socks the same. But it wasn't going to be enough to do 10 rows and the whole heel for both socks. So what I decided to do was just to add some gray yarn of mine to make the heel so that both heels could be the same. And I'm so happy that I did, because they are identical that way, which makes me happy, because I would have had to use one mini for this heel and one mini for another, and I didn't want to do that. But I love them. And I did keep with my pattern that I talked about. So I have a variegated and then a semi-solid and then 2 speckles and a variegated, 2 speckles and a semi-solid, excuse me. And then because I started with the variegated, I ended with a variegated up here. And I love them so much. I don't have the ends woven in yet. I will have to go back and do that. I chose not to do the magic knot, so I do have an end for each one. So that is going to take a little bit of time to make sure that the ends are woven in good enough that they're not going to come off, or that they're not going to leave holes. But I love them so much. I did knit them toe up 64 stitches on my US size 2s, Haya Sharps. And hanging on here, I have this on here just because I got it on New Year's Eve. And I have this cute little coffee cup progress keeper that Amber gave me. It doesn't want to stay. She gave that to me as a Christmas present. So, but yes, I love them so much that I think I'm going to have to knit more socks this way. I've said it numerous times. You guys have heard it. It's nothing new. I am not a go-to sock person, but there was something so easy and refreshing to me about knitting socks this way. I knew it was going to take me the whole month, and I was perfectly fine with that. But I loved knowing that I just had to do 10 rows. I did 10 rows a day, and I still got a whole entire pair of socks in a month. So I'm going to do that. I don't know if it would work for me just to do 10 rows if I were knitting a pattern sock or a sock that was going to use the full skein of yarn that was all the same, but doing it this way for scrappy socks was perfect. So I definitely see more scrappy socks in my future. I love them so much. So yeah, those are that. Okay. The next thing I finished was the Barley hat by Tin Can Knits, and I made the adult medium. And I did it out of the Cleckheaton Australian Superfine Merino. And I unfortunately don't have it with me to show it to you guys because I did make it for my husband for Christmas and he hasn't really taken it off since. He loves it. So I got a picture of him this morning in it so you guys can see it. But there it is, all done. See all that snow, guys? That's just in like one day's worth of stuff. So he really, really likes it. And I used this smoke colorway. And I had said on the last one that I was going to need 2 balls. I wouldn't have needed the whole second ball. But as it turned out, I didn't. I actually had a tiny bit left of the first one. So it didn't use as much yarn. I think she does what a lot of pattern designers do and just kind of ups the yardage requirement just in case your gauge is different. Because I didn't need the second one, so that made me happy. So I have a whole nother skein of that I can use for something else. Okay, and then last but not least, I finished this. This is a project that I actually cast on in 2015, I believe. 2015? Yeah, I think so. And I always mess up the name of this pattern. I think it's called Gestrict, and it's by Malia May. And I modified it. It's normally written for DK weight, and I didn't have a DK weight in a color that I thought he would like to have. So I used worsted, and I just went down. I used a US size 2, and I believe it originally calls for like a 3 or a 4. So I just went down. So it's a bow tie for my husband, and it has this very sweet little seed stitch pattern. Now, I have modified this a ton. So normally the center here would also have the same seed stitch pattern in a wider piece that would be around. I didn't think he was going to like that as much because it would have been a slightly more bulky. After the fact, he said he thinks it would have been okay, so I'm going to try to make him another one and do it as written. So I just opted to just wrap the yarn around the center to pull it into the bow tie shape. It also asks you to knit an I-cord neck that just gets tied. I didn't think that he would like that as much because it wouldn't be as adjustable in my opinion, and there's the possibility that it would come undone. And it's, it would be, I don't think he would have liked tying it. Nor did I want to knit, truthfully, an I-cord that was pretty long. So I went and got just a regular standard bow tie, and I kind of deconstructed it and just stuck the adjustable neck piece onto it. And it's still blue, so it matches, but this part's under his collar, so you never see it anyway. And I attached it in a way that, truthfully, this is loose enough that it could come off. So if he wanted to have the other bow tie, he could have the front and still use this. He says he doesn't think he would because he really enjoys his bow tie, so he'll probably just leave it. But he's already worn it to work, and everyone has commented on it and thought it was really cool. So that makes me very happy. So there's that. So, okay. So as kind of a wrap up, I wanted to see how many projects I had finished in 2016. Not how many I'd cast on, but how many I'd finished. So I looked, and I have finished a total of 40 projects in 2016. I did 9 hats, 9 pairs of socks, which I was kind of surprised by, 2 pairs of slippers, 13 washcloths, 4 shawls, 1 cowl, 1 pair of gloves, and 1 bow tie. So I thought that was really cool. It was neat to go back and look at all of the things that I had knit this year. And I was kind of surprised by the numbers. The hats didn't surprise me. I knit a lot of hats. I enjoy knitting hats. They're probably a go-to knit for me. The socks was a surprise. I didn't think that I could participate in the box of socks cowl because I didn't think there was any way I could knit 12 pairs of socks in a year. But I mean, when you think about it, now granted, most of the socks that I knit were not for myself, so that wouldn't have worked anyway. But I only knit 3 pairs less than what I would have needed to. So we'll see. I thought that was kind of cool. Okay, so jumping into projects that have already been started for 2017. I have a couple things that I've cast on, nothing major. Now technically these were cast on Christmas Eve because they're my Christmas Eve socks, but I didn't finish them, so they're to me going to be a 2017 project. But they are being housed in my sweet little bag from Banna and Bean. And I have changed out a lot of my bags, but I kept this one because this one isn't necessarily Christmassy to me. It's still just wintry because snowflakes and sledding. And truthfully, because I just love this bag. This is the one with the red polka dots that I told you guys about. So I haven't done anything other than the toe because I went back and forth forever on a pattern. And I sat down this morning and looked probably for 45 minutes to an hour for patterns because I want to do a pattern that has a little bit of texture but nothing too major. I can truly admit that I am not someone who enjoys doing cables on socks. I will do them. They're not my favorite thing. I find it too fiddly for socks, and socks to me are somewhat fiddly anyway. So I'm like, I just want something easy that has a little bit of texture, that has a little bit of interest. And so I went back and forth, and I've decided, I think, that I'm going to do, what are the name of them? They are called the Socks of Kindness by Shawnee, I believe, or Shanae. Shawnee, I think it's Shawnee. I could totally be butchering that, and I probably am. And so I don't have any progress on the actual pattern, but I will show you what I have so far. And if you follow me on Instagram, then you've already seen it because I haven't done anything since then. But I'm using this skein, which is a club colorway that I dyed for December, and it's called a Who Christmas. And lots of you were very sweet and commented that it should be a colorway in the shop. And so because it's a club colorway, it can't be one that's in the shop right now because it is exclusive to the club members for a few months. But if you guys are truly interested in this, some of you had commented that I should bring it back this summer and have it be like a Christmas in July. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, I could do that, or I'm happy to bring it back with the Christmas colorways next year. So you guys just let me know. But that's it. And it is on the Fashion Knot, which is my Stellina yarn. And here's my sweet little toe. And I am knitting it toe up, 64 stitches on my US size 2 Hiya Sharps. And I really like the way it's knitting up so far. I think it's going to be pretty. So I have that. Okay, the next project that I worked on was the Thomas sweater that I told you guys about that I was going to make for my son. And it's being housed in my beautiful bag from Shannon of Socksetra. I love this bag. I love the blue on the bottom. It's almost like a burlap material. I think it actually kind of is. It's blue burlap. And then it has this absolutely amazing, like, magenta fabric on the inside. So, I love this bag. And this sweater is by Kelly Van Neernick. I think that's how I pronounce it. She used to be Miss Kelly Brooker. Here's that picture. See? Tama. And I am making the largest size. I am making the 6-year-old size. And I am doing mine with DK weight in the mistletoe. And then it will be striped on the bottom with frosted garland and natural. And I haven't done a ton. I'm cast on and I'm working on the yoke of the sweater. It's always so hard to show cardigan sweaters. And it's not actually a cardigan. It's knit flat for a while and then you join the top with a button. So it will actually look like this. But I've done that part. So I've done the top little garter border and I've just now started on the stockinette portion. And I'm hoping to do the whole top part of the sweater with the green. And then, so once you stop increasing, you have, a little bit of the sleeve. So I'm hoping to then stripe the body and the sleeves with the variegated frosted garland and the natural. And then I'm hoping to do the cuff of the sleeve and the bottom band of the sweater all in the green again. And I mentioned this last time. So the top of the sweater has the garter border. And on the first sweater I made my son, I did that still on the sleeve and on the bottom. But on this one, I think, just because I think that left it slightly too loose around the sleeves and around the bottom, I'm going to do a rib on both the cuff and the bottom of the sweater. So I'm hoping that I will have enough green to do that. I did only hold out one skein of this. I could dye more if I wanted to, but if not, then I'll just do it with the next color in the stripes series. So there's that. So I'm hoping to work on that a little bit this week. I haven't really spent very much time with that project. Okay, and then last but not least is this new project, which I won't have too much information for you guys about. It's in my beautiful bee bag from Amber of Mana and Bean. And this is a new design that I'm working on. And I am knitting it with worsted weight yarn of mine. And this is the Goblins and Ghouls colorway that I released in September, I don't know, either September or October for the fall collection. So just a little sneak peek of it. It is going to be a hat. So here it is so far. This is just, part of it, so this isn't really giving any secrets away. So hopefully this will be done soon and you guys can see it all finished, and I hope to release it probably in February. So we shall see. So not too much information there. Okay. I have been going back and forth on what I should call my knit-along segment, and I'm a total goofball, and for whatever reason, the idea of calling it Callie Sci just seems fun to me, so I think that's what I'm going to do. So my knit-along portion is going to be Callie Sci, because I'm just a goofball, and I'm learning to embrace that I'm a goofball and that I'm funny and not worry so much about whether or not other people are going to think it's dumb. So without further ado, the Callie Sci portion of the podcast. I am hosting 3 knit-alongs currently. 2 of them are knit-alongs that will have prizes, and then one of them is just kind of a fun, if you want to join me on this adventure, great. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the Color of the Month Cal. The premise of this cowl is extremely easy. I was going through my yarn in my office because I decided that I didn't want my yarn just kind of out on my shelves. I loved the way it looked, but I just didn't like the fact that it was possibly going to get dusty and that, there was the potential for moths. Not that I have a lot of those in my area, so I didn't really have to worry about it, but it was just, it is a possibility. It has happened to other knitters here in Spokane, and so it was making me a little nervous. So I bought new bins to put all of my yarn inside my cubby. Well, I couldn't get the yarn in the bins because there was so much of it. And so I kind of had this harebrained idea of, wouldn't it be fun to just kind of knit my stash down this year by subconsciously making the decision to knit at least one skein of yarn from my stash every month that had something to do with that month or that reminded me of that month. And so this idea of the Color of the Month cowl kind of came about. And basically, it's just pulling from your stash, or if you don't have a large stash and you want to buy new yarn, that's totally fine. It doesn't have to be stash yarn. And knitting a project each month, whatever project you want, with a colorway that represents that month to you. So for me, January is always about blues or whites or really icy colors. For some people, it could be purples or grays. So I'm just going to knit a project in January that's knit out of a blue or icy toned skein. February for me is always, of course, pinks or reds. And so in February, I will do a pink or a red. In March, a green, you know, and so on and so forth. So the only requirements for the knit along are that you use a skein of yarn that represents that month to you. It doesn't have to be the color that I pick. It doesn't have to be a color that represents it to me. As long as it's January to you, then it counts. There will be no yardage requirement and no project stipulations. You can knit any project you want, any size you want, with any type of yarn you want. I will have, I do have 3 threads open in the Ohloops Ravelry group. I have a chatter thread, which is where you can discuss what you're going to be knitting, show off your stuff, get ideas about patterns, you know, so on and so forth. And then I have 2 FO threads. I have one that's for Ohloops yarn, so if you're knitting with Ohloops yarn, you can post there. And I have one for non-Ohloops yarn, so if you're knitting with yarn that's not mine, feel free to post in that group, or in that thread. I'm going to award small little prizes, such as things like a copy of my pattern or other patterns on Ravelry, or 10% off of my shop, or coupon codes for other bag maker shops, or a bookmark, or some tea and mini skeins, you know, little things each month. And then I'm going to have 2 big prize drawings. I'm going to have one at the end of 6 months and then one at the end of the year, because it is going to be a year-long knit along. So if you complete 6 months of projects in a row, and it doesn't have to be, so like if you do 1 month you do an Ohloops project and the next month you do a non-Ohloops project, that's totally fine. Like it doesn't have to be that you complete all 6 Ohloops ones or all 6, whatever. As long as you enter a project for 6 months in a row, then you'll be entered into the drawing for the big prize at 6 months, and then again a big prize at the end of the year. So you don't have to, let me rephrase. I'm going to award 3 prizes, excuse me. I'm going to award 1 at the end of 6 months and then 2 at the end of the year. If you complete a project from January until June, then you will be entered into the first 6 months and you can win a prize. If you complete then a project from July to December, all of 6 months in a row, then you'll be entered in to win that 6 months worth of prizes. But if you have started in January and you knit a project every month from January all the way to December, then there's going to be another prize for people who have done a project all year long. And I don't know what those prizes are going to be yet. I have some ideas of things that I'm planning. So once I know more, I will probably start sharing them on the podcast and in the group so that you can kind of see what you're doing. So I have already picked out my yarn for January. And if you follow the Ravelry group, you'll have seen these, but I'm keeping mine in this beautiful unicorn bag from Suburban Stitcher because it's blue. And to me, like I said, January's blue. So my daughter's best friend, my oldest daughter, her best friend's birthday is in February. And I thought it would be a lot of fun to knit them best friend socks. So originally I was just going to do this skein of hedgehog fibers in the Monet colorway and just knit them a pair of socks with this. But I was like, you know, usually when you have a best friend thing, like you have the necklace that is the heart, or you have whatever, and they're the same thing but slightly different. So I'm going to knit them a pair of socks that's half and half. So one of their socks will be this. So I'm still going to knit 2 socks out of this, but one for Em and one for Addie. And then I'm going to knit their other sock with this Madeline Tosh in the Baltic colorway. So they will have one of this and one of this. which I think is just going to be so much fun. And my daughter's really excited. She's excited not only to have the socks, but to give them to Addie. So, and then her best friend Addie, speaking of Addie, has been asking me for probably 4 or 5 months to knit her a shawl. And she really likes the Holden shawlette that I made a couple years ago because Emma wears it all the time. It's silver on the top and then it has this beautiful blue and white scallopy bottom. And Addie really likes it. And so a couple months ago I told her, I said, why don't you pick out a skein of yarn that you want and I will make it for you. And she picked out this beautiful skein of yarn from the Flying Kettle. And I apologize, the colorway of this isn't actually written down, but this is her Glider 2-ply, which is a 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina. And it's this beautiful blue and purple and green speckly thing. So this is going to become Addison's Holden shawl. And I'm hoping to get this and the socks done before her birthday in February. So I figured perfect time to do it in January since it's part of the knit along anyway. And because both of those are non-Ohloops yarn, I'm going to try also, and I don't know if it'll happen, we'll see. It is already the 9th of January, so we'll see how many projects I can actually cast on and knit. I'm going to try to knit with this blue sock blank, I think. So I was originally thinking I was going to make socks out of it, but I have a hat that I designed. It's the Here's Looking at You hat, and my husband wears it all the time. It's a really dark purpley plum color, and he has a sweater that's that same color. But it's his favorite hat out of all the ones I've knit. He really likes the way it fits him because it's slouchy and it has a really big brim. And so I've been wanting to make him more, and he wears a ton of blue, and he looks really great in blue, so I might use this and make it. So we'll see. But there's that. And then I was originally planning on using this as my February skein and knitting a pair of socks because it's sport weight. And I've discovered about myself that I really like sport weight socks for me. But now I might have to knit scrappy socks out of all the leftover pink yarn I have for February. I think that would be really fun. So I might do that. I can't decide. So yeah. Okay. The other knit along that I'm doing is Whip It Wednesdays. And again, that was kind of just a harebrained idea. I was in my office and I was looking through Ravelry and there's all these cowls that are happening and it's the first of the year, and like most knitters, I just was itching to cast on all the things because I had spent all of October and November and December knitting Christmas stuff, and I'm like, I just want to knit everything and I want to participate in all the cowls. So I'll talk about it in a minute and show you. I am going to do it. I was looking at Katie's group from Inside Number 23, and she's doing an Andy Satterland along. This is called the Andy Sat along. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And so I came up to my office and I was looking for yarn and needles, and I was getting really frustrated because I couldn't find the needles. I'm like, I know I have this size and I have that cable size. Like, where are they? And then it dawned on me that they were probably in my whip basket, which is full of lots of things. See this? And sure enough, this is where they were. I was trying to figure out a way that I could still participate and still get my whips knit, because seeing this basket and going through it and opening it all up and realizing which projects I had actually cast onto that I hadn't finished yet honestly kind of stressed me out. And a lot of them are projects that I don't want to frog. I really do want to finish them. So I was kind of getting defeated. I'm like, well, I don't want to not cast on to all the fun things, and I don't want to not participate in knit-alongs that I want to participate in because I have all these projects. So what do I do? So I had this moment of, okay, why it's Wednesday. Whip It Wednesday. Why don't I just spend Wednesday working on my whips? And it'll be the only day I do it. So the rest of the week I can knit on new things, I can cast onto anything I want, but on Wednesdays, if I knit on Wednesdays, I'm only going to work on projects that I've already cast onto, that are from last year or the year before. So they can't be this year's projects until all of these are finished. And so I posted on Instagram, and so many people commented that they thought that was great and that they were going to join me. So I've opened up a thread in Ravelry, and it's simple. This one won't have any prizes, other than maybe at the end of the year I might give away something. I don't know. To me, it was just about feeling good about getting projects off my needles, but still allowing myself to do all the other things that I wanted to do. So there is a thread, and you can knit anything you want, and it doesn't have to just be on Wednesdays. For me, it's going to be on Wednesdays just because that works for my brain. My brain is like, okay, I'm going to just knit this today. So I picked up one of my projects, and the project I worked on this week was my Quist hat, which is by Melanie Berg. And this was a knit along that we did last summer. And I cast on and I loved it. And then I just, started dyeing Harry Potter yarn and things got busy and I just kind of forgot about it. And it's still in my absolutely beautiful Alice in Wonderland bag from You So and So. And I'm just going to keep it in this bag because I love this bag. It has the beautiful little cherry blossom in it. But I had only gotten past, I had done the brim and one repeat. So I picked it up on Wednesday, and here's where I am now. And I just love it so much, you guys. I've shown you this a couple times before, but there was no progress. So I currently have one more 8-row repeat before I can start the decreases. So I'm close. I did quite a bit. So come Wednesday, I will work on it again. And hopefully maybe have it done by the next time you guys see me. And this is the Song Sung Blue colorway that was in the Ohloops shop in the spring, part of the the Spring Fling collection. So I really love it. It's navy and white and has pops of green and yellow and orange. And this actually isn't a colorway that I'll offer anymore. Because I didn't dye this one. This one was a Sarah colorway. So won't be able to get this exact colorway from me anymore. And I have my sweet little mermaid stitch marker. And I am using my Hiya Sharps US size 4. And I do believe, I think the pattern actually calls for a different size. Let me see. Nope, it does. It says size 4. So you were supposed to knit the brim on a 2.5 and then the hat on a US 4. So I am doing it exactly like that. So again, that's the Quist hat by Melanie Berg. So that was my Whip It Wednesday project for this week. And because I am so close to finishing it, I will probably work on that one again this Wednesday. But then I have a whole basket of stuff to choose from. I have socks and a sweater and a shawl. And some knitted toys. So hopefully I will get those off my needles soon. Okay. And then the last cowl I'm knitting, or hosting, excuse me, I'm actually co-hosting with a lovely podcaster. Her name is Sarah. You guys have heard me talk about her before. It can be found as Romperlust on Ravelry and as Loose Pages on Instagram. And she is the podcast host of the Make Things Club. I adore her. And she had this amazing idea to do a cowl called the Brave New Year cowl. And I am fortunate enough to be co-hosting it with her. So the idea of this cowl was just to create a community and a knit along where we encouraged each other to try new things in our knitting journey. Whether that be color work or baroche, intarsia, cables if you've never done them, 2 at a time socks if you've never done them, cuff down, toe up, anything that you've never tried before works. You can use any yarn, any pattern, You can post both in her group and in my group. You do have to be a member of both groups if you're going to post in them. And you can knit and enter as many projects as you like. The only requirement there is that if you post more than one project, each project needs to be a new thing. So if you do color work for one project, you can't do it for a second one because you would have already done that. So as long as it's a new technique each time, it'll count. Each group, so in her group and in my group, there are going to be 3 prizes each awarded at the end. So there are going to be 6 prizes total awarded. And this knit along will run from January 1st until March 1st. So you have quite a while to get it done or get whatever project you decide to do finished. So there is a chatter thread in my group as well as an FO thread, and I believe hers as well. So just make sure I've told you guys everything. Yep. And I am going to be knitting. I want to make the Ohm shawl, and it's by Andrea Mowry, and it looks like this. And it is a worsted weight shawl, and I am going to dye yarn for it. So mine is, so there's the 3 semi-solid colors that are bright, and then she's got this cream colored one. So mine, the cream colored one of mine is going to be this really pretty kind of like mustardy toffee. And then my semi-solids are going to be a mint green, a charcoal blue, or not charcoal blue, a like slate charcoaly gray, and then kind of a really pale peachy color. So yeah, mustard, slate, mint, and peach. And the reason this is new for me is it does have a colorwork section, and I have been itching to try colorwork since becoming a knitter, and I just haven't mastered it yet. So I'm going to do it. I'm a little nervous because it is a big project. I'm hoping that I'll be able to finish it, but I absolutely love it, so I have to make it. So there's that. So those are all the ones I'm hosting or co-hosting, but because I have kind of lost it, I think, a little bit, I am also participating in several other ones. I mentioned that I'm going to participate in the Andy Sat Along with Katie from the Inside Number 23, and I want to make her, I think it's called Zinone pattern, which is this beautiful pullover sweater with this lace detail on the back, and then the lace detail comes up just on the front portion of the shirt, and I think it's beautiful. I don't know for sure if I'll be able to finish it, but I'm gonna try. And I've decided a couple years ago I dyed this yarn and started making a cardigan with it, and I just didn't love the cardigan, and it wasn't really fitting the way I wanted it to, and so last year I pulled my needles out of it and said, I'm not going to do it anymore. I haven't actually pulled all of the yarn out of the sweater yet, so I will need to do that and probably rehank it and wash it. But it is this kind of mauvey brown color. So I think this is going to be my pullover, and I think it'll be really pretty. I think the lace will show up really nice with that. So, excuse me as I dropped my yarn. So that's going to be my project for that. I have also decided that I am going to attempt the box of socks knit along with Christina Vollenvine, just to see. I don't know if I'll do it. I might not be able to, but you know, I've found a couple ways that I enjoy knitting socks. I like to knit sport weight socks, and I really enjoyed knitting the scrappy socks, so that might be something I could do. So I'm going to attempt that. I'm also going to be participating in the ornament along with Molly of A Homespun House and Amber of Maker's Haven. Most of you, I'm sure, have already heard about that, but you just have You just make ornaments all year, and they can be any kind that you want. I have been wanting to make the little birds of happiness ornaments for, I don't know, 2 years now. I would love to have enough that I can put maybe on a tree in my office someday, or just enough to add to my regular tree downstairs. So I'm going to try, I think, and make a bird every month, or at least every other month. I'd love to have 12, but if not, then at least 6. So I am also participating in the Doctor Who knit along with Michelle Owls of the Owl in the Oak Tree podcast. And I posted on Ravelry earlier, asking her if she thought this pattern would count. This is by Hunter Hammerson, and it's called the Constellate. The rules for the Doctor Who knit along were that you had to knit something that was either Doctor Who or space themed, or knit with Doctor Who inspired yarn. So this is called Constellate, and it has this beautiful star design, and Constellate to me totally sounds like constellation, so I'm thinking maybe it's enough of a space theme that'll work. But I just love this hat, you guys. I think it's so pretty. So I'll be doing that. So the Andy Satterberg along, I believe, goes until March. I believe Michelle's is also either into March or through March. I don't remember. Katie's might be actually through March as well. The ornament along is all year. Box of socks along is all year. And then the last one that I'm going to attempt to participate in, actually the last 2, will be Katie's year-long Harry Potter knit along, as well as the year-long Harry Potter knit along from Maureen of the Victorian Studios podcast. So I don't know how much I'll be able to participate in those, just because there are other things that I'm doing. And truthfully, I get a little Harry Pottered out by this time of the year. I know, so bad, shouldn't admit that, but I've spent since April dyeing yarn and planning my Harry Potter knit along, so by January I'm a little toasted, but we'll see. It is Harry Potter, and I always love Harry Potter, so I might still have to participate in that. Okay, I think that's it for Callie Sai knit along information. I do have a couple more things. I did get some penny post, so I wanted to show that to you guys. Last time I talked to you, I told you that I had ordered more Spun Right Round, and that arrived, so I'm so in love, you guys. The first one is called Leapfrog. It is on her 80% superwash, 20% nylon, 400 yards. This is her superwash sock. I love this yarn. Love it so much. So I have that. It's this beautiful green with all of these pops of color in it. And then I also got Chasing Rabbits, which is also on her superwash sock. And it's this beautiful blue with orange and neon yellow, and like this neon orange and hot pink section, and it has green. I love it. So these are 2 of her newer colorways that she just started dyeing, and I just love them. And then just Saturday, I received the most amazing skein of yarn from Molly of a Homespun House. This is her gold Stellina fingering base, 75% merino, superwash merino, 25% nylon, 465 yards, and this is the warm and toasty colorway. It is so absolutely beautiful, you guys. It is very fall, wintry to me, so it has beautiful like oranges and greens and these dark chestnut browns and cream. So this will most likely have to be something in like October, September maybe, I don't know, because I just love it. It's so beautiful. So there's that. And it came with this sweet little bag that had a sweet little Christmassy mini skein and a beautiful little tree and jingle bell progress keeper. So I loved that. Okay, while we're talking about yarn, we will move on to dancing dye pots. So my January collection is coming out soon. It was originally going to be released on January 14th. I may have to push that back to the 21st. So depending on how far I get this week, I will let you know. But it is all children's storybook and love story inspired. So the main part of the collection is all based on children's storybooks. So I will have yarn inspired by Lord of the Rings, Peter Rabbit, Winnie the Pooh, the Magic Horse, and a bunch of things from Grimm's Fairy Tales. And then I will have a couple Valentine's skeins that will all be love story themed. So things like Tristan and Isolde and, you know, Romeo and Juliet, Cinderella possibly, we'll see. And then on January 28th, Amber of Banna and Bean and Val of the Valiant Maker and I are releasing our third kit collaborations, and those will be our Star-Crossed Lovers kits. And they will have, so you will get a full 100-gram skein of yarn from me, a coordinating 50-gram semi-solid skein. You will get a medium-sized project bag and a notions pouch from Amber, a set of stitch markers / progress keepers from Val, and then a bunch of other really fun extras, one of which may be a pattern from me. So they will be Romeo and Juliet themed, as they are called Star-Crossed Lovers, and again, those are coming out January 28th. And there will be a few more than our last two updates, but kits are still limited. So if you want one, don't miss out on getting one. We will have a teaser photo posted probably soon. Okay. Last but not least, the only other thing I wanted to mention was that because this episode is so long already, I have decided to put the Harry Potter winners into their own separate podcast. So this podcast will be released first, and then later this week I will have a special Harry Potter winners episode. There's going to be several winners for that, so if you participated in this year's Harry Potter knit along in the Ohloops group, please stay tuned for information on that, as you could be one of our lucky winners. So thank you guys so much. I always forget to say thank you to my new and returning viewers. I truly appreciate every single one of you. It amazes me that with all of the amazing podcasts out there that you stop by to watch me. Thank you so much for subscribing. We have gone well over all the subscribers that I ever thought we would have. So if you stick around each week and join in all my fun, I just can't say thank you enough. And if you're new, thank you so much for hanging out and checking out my podcast. I hope it was something you enjoyed. If you haven't already subscribed, click the button so that you're notified when my next episodes will be out. And like I mentioned earlier, if you haven't joined the Ravelry group, please do so. It is where I keep all of the information and host all the wonderful knit-alongs. So I hope you guys have an amazing second week of 2017. I'm hoping that my families will be better than our first. Fingers crossed. Yeah, it's going to be a great year. 2016 taught me a lot. I'm really looking forward to all of the amazing things that are going to happen this year. So until I see you next time, thanks for stopping by. Happy knitting. Bye.